Hey, everybody, and welcome to Boss Talks. I'm your host, Evan Happel with Community Boss. I have a great guest today, Trevor Park with Ooni Marketing. Yeah, that Trevor Park, the one that's been kind of like silent on LinkedIn lately. Like, where'd you go, man? Well, he's back. He's here. He's on Boss Talks. And right before Apartmentalize, which he's going to as well. And I'm super excited because he's going to come to Boss Brunch and we'll see each other. I'm sure he'll be busy. I'll be busy, but there's always that overflow of, yeah, I'll see you there, and then it doesn't happen with a lot of people because it's so many people, but super exciting. And I love that he's on right before Apartmentalize because he is the guy that does all the events and is creative around how he markets and how he goes to market with different brands and things like that. And just so happens we're going to talk a lot about that kind of stuff. So super cool that we have Trevor on the show today because I'm all about that stuff as well. So we'll get right to it, except for first, Community Boss. That is the brand that we represent, and we have some great products for you when it comes to parking, amenities, and mapping. We can generate revenue. If you need to manage those physical spaces and make it a better experience for your residents, we are the company for you. Hit me up. We'll make it happen. But today it's about Trevor. So let's get to it.
I forgot how much I hate being on this side of the camera. I love being on the scenes for people's podcasts. And as you're giving the intro, I just immediately got just total palm sweat.
Nothing to be at all nervous about, Trevor. I mean, so if people don't know, Trevor, him and I met, actually. Nobody knows this story. Why would they? We were sitting right next to each other. And this was like right before COVID hit. We were on a marketing committee for our local NAA affiliate. And he's sitting there, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, hey, man, what's your name? Like, I'd never met Trevor before in my life. And that's where we met. So we were on a committee together, marketing. And this is pre everything, right? Yeah. I wasn't with Community Boss. He wasn't. I think you were with
Remarkably.
Remarkably, yes. And yeah. And then after that, everything is a story thereafter. But yeah, go ahead. Say a little bit about that maybe, and we'll get into the other stuff.
Cool. Yeah. Trevor Park. I've been in the industry, I want to say a little over 10 years now. I started at Graystar, was a marketing associate there, then jumped over to Pinnacle as their regional marketing director. While at Pinnacle, really got a full understanding of everything multifamily, like working on development side all the way up to transition properties and anything under the sun for the community types. Jumped out of multifamily briefly to start the second headquarters for a real estate brokerage called Compass, based out of New York. Realized that brokerage side was not as friendly as multifamily, and came back to Remarkably. And Remarkably was my first taste on the vendor side and really loved it. I loved being able to work with so many different partners, and really just kind of the openness to explore technology was a lot faster paced. And so was it Remarkably, pandemic hit, was laid off, got my first taste at consulting. I worked with, at the time of the pandemic, I had probably 45 different PMCs that I was running around Pacific Northwest, doing everything from virtual tours to online leasing setups, and like getting everybody prepared for the pandemic and figuring out how we can set up their automations, how we can set up their email flows, and really got a firm taste of the variety of different operational models and tech stacks. While doing that, I met the team over at BetterBot, jumped over to BetterBot, was a BetterBot for a hot minute, and really loved kind of working in that tech space even more so. And then went to Rent Dynamics. Was with Rent Dynamics until we were acquired by Entrata. Worked at Entrata for a hot second. Realized that I wanted to kind of jump out. Met the team at Digital. Worked with Digital. And then fast forward to today, and I'm now running my own business called Ooni Marketing. And our focus is really just kind of elevating brands and getting them to a place where they can grow fast and get absorbed into the markets that they want to hit. And then also just creating really incredible experiences for their customers and prospects that go beyond just the standard happy hour. And one of my favorite ones that we do is in Napa with the lobster boil that's tied to Multifamily Social Media Summit. We had over 120 people there this year, and it continues to grow. As much as I want to try and bring it back to just the 8 people we were in a warehouse, I feel like it's going to continue being kind of a large thing moving forward. So that's been our big one that we run every year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's been fun. I've stayed where I am, and you've gone everywhere. But it's been fun.
LinkedIn resume is just
No, but it's been fun to see all the things you've done at each stay at each company. And we're both in Washington. You've moved a little further north than me. You're up in the Beham, the Bellingham area. I'm south of Seattle, but we're still in Washington State, so representing.
Yeah, love it. Pacific Northwest.
Yep. All right. Well, before we get into the rest of it, I'd love to just run through a few questions that I ask everybody.
Yeah.
First one is around this topic of parking. I don't know how much, and this can be personal stories too. This doesn't have to be directly about multifamily unless you got something, but anything around parking story-wise or anything else that comes to mind when it comes to just maybe frustrations, hilarity. I don't care. Everything.
Oh, I got a really good one. So when I was at Pinnacle, we were driving around. It was Corey McLeod and I, and we had to go to a couple communities to do due diligence because we were going to be, they were going to be changing ownership and staying within Pinnacle. So we had to do our DD reports. We had drove to this community and they had parking signs noticed that say it's like resident parking only, and they had nothing for guests. And so we had to park in a resident spot, but it was the closest one to the office building. We got in there. We told the office manager, hey, we parked in spot number 1 or 2 or whatever. This is our car, but we're going to be walking the property for the next half hour to kind of get the DD going. We do our first tour, and Corey hears a car alarm. She's like, that sounds like my car alarm. That's weird. Disregards it, doesn't pay any mind to it, starts finishing up the tour, and we get out and her car's gone. And the on-site team didn't have because the property manager was with us, she didn't tell her team that our car was okay. And that's the fastest turnaround I've ever seen a tow truck get to a community and pull the car out.
How long did it take?
We were only in the tour for probably 35-40 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Came out, car was gone. It was already halfway to Everett to go to the drop off, and so they had to call them and have them turn it around and bring it back. But it was just it was a complete shit show. But that's probably my favorite parking story because of how solutions like Community Boss would easily solve that by having access to the right spots and everybody having universal knowledge of who can park where.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what we're trying to avoid is wrongful tows and just knowing the right people are there and registered. But yeah, that sucks. And that is fast.
Yeah. When I did some shadowing of some communities when I was at Greystar, we had to tow a couple cars. It was 6 hours.
Right.
By the time the tow truck got there, the car had already moved away from the fire hazard or whatever it was at and left. So the fact that they were able to do it within that time frame was impressive.
That is impressive. Oh man. Yeah. And also maybe you pulled the trigger a little too fast. Oh, that's been there 5 minutes towing. They made that
for a month.
They literally made that decision because if it came that quickly, that means they made the decision within 5 minutes of seeing it.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for answering. Good
No.
story. Next thing on the list is, when it comes to music, what are one or two songs that are kind of your go-to when it comes to getting motivated and getting maybe in the groove of work, or getting ready for something that you need to just get in the right mind space?
Okay. This is all like I listen to a lot of different stuff. I think one of the ones that I like right now is Youngblood, Hello Heaven Hello. I think he's doing some really cool stuff in the space. But then anything Rainbow Kitten Surprise is like amazing to me. I just absolutely love that band. They are the best. If you get a chance, listen to Cocaine Jesus. I think it's one of the funnier lyric songs, but it's so good. So yeah, that's probably some easy go-tos. Anything Lil Wayne. I love the Sorry for the Wait song that he did over the track of Adele, Rolling in the Deep, I think it was. Just so good. That's probably the good stuff. Kendrick Lamar, anything that has
Sweet.
to do with the beef is awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'll add all three of those to. So I have a running playlist on YouTube.
Oh,
It's
awesome.
a Boss Talks alums playlist, jams, and I'll add those three. So that puts us over 50. We got I think 52 songs now on the playlist, adding yours. So hours of listening. So get yourself ready for NNA. Yeah. Come over to the playlist, listen to it. You'll be good. I promise. All right. Thanks for answering. And then finally, when it comes to your caffeinated beverage of choice, what's your go-to?
So funny enough, I've been off caffeine for a day and some change now, just to see if it changes how my body responds. I tried it before, didn't notice any difference. But typically, I start my morning with a pre-workout that's like amino lean, like an RSP thing. And then probably at some point in the day, I'll chug a Monster or a Celsius. But it has to be the white canned Monster.
Okay.
Or either the peach or berry flavor Celsius.
Okay. Nice.
None of that lime shit.
Okay. So you go to an energy drink more than you go to like coffee or.
So yeah, funny enough. So if you get a chance, Union, which is one of the clients that I represent, we designed out this massive coffee booth space, and Ethan is really big on coffee and knows a lot about it. I owe absolutely nothing. Like being in the Pacific Northwest, having done some contract work for Starbucks, I know nothing about coffee. So I would say that like my typical energy drink, the closest it comes to coffee is when there's green tea or green bean caffeine, and that's the closest I'll get to a coffee.
Nice. Okay, fair enough.
Or an affogato. I forgot. Affogato has espresso, and I will eat that dessert anytime.
Yeah, man. What are you doing? You live in the Northwest? No coffee in your system?
Do you like Starbucks? And funny enough, they have like 2 Starbucks in Bellingham, and the rest is all Woods coffee. And
oh, really?
Yeah.
Is Woods from there, or is it more Bellevue? Okay. Yeah, I don't either. They just built one over here next to us. I haven't gone to it yet, but they're kind of nice. I like them. Good vibe.
Great swag. Probably one of my favorite resources to go pop into a coffee shop that's Woods and see the swag they're running. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, the way they decorate the vibe of the space it's pretty nice. I like the yeah. It's nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for answering. Appreciate it. And let's get one more thing out of the way. All right. So you and I are both working from home, doing our thing, and we both are working from a shed.
Yes. I have a man shed. It is a complete, like this is the only curated space.
No, I love it though.
The pictures are crooked too. Like my mom would kill me. but like this is the only view that is curated. Everything else is chaos that way.
Yeah. No, you said you have an 8 by 30.
I want to say it's 30. I'll get the tape measure out and confirm and leave it in the comments.
No, I think you're right, because mine's a 10 by 20, and I definitely don't have as much going that way as you do.
But you also have a fireplace.
I do. See that?
So I feel like there's like tiers of living, and there's also tiers of man shed, and you have reached pinnacle man shed.
I mean, I try.
Fireplace.
I also have a couch over here too.
Do you have a wet bar?
I don't have a wet bar. I do have the smallest fridge possible at my feet right here that holds currently it is coconut water.
You should we'll just do a product placement. Liquid Death. This is from the other day, because I don't throw shit away. But their sweet tea is awesome. You should get some of that stuff in there. There's vitamins.
I think I've had their tea and lemonade. I'm a big fan of Arnold Palmer's. That's kind of like my go-to drink.
Yeah.
You're right. I should probably get those, because the Arizona teas don't fit in my fridge. They're too big. They're gigantic.
Yeah.
So I should definitely get that.
Yeah. Or Arizona tea should send you a new fridge.
That's true. Arizona tea. I'm going to be reaching out for sponsorship.
Yeah.
Because I drink a lot.
Arizona Tea's LinkedIn if they have one.
Yes, please.
In the comments, and let's get Evan a new.
I'll gladly drink out of an Arizona tea cup or something just to get some free tea. That's all. I don't even need to get paid. Just free tea. That's all.
Yeah, there you
go. But anyways, Trevor, back to all things that you're passionate about.
Yes.
And like we kind of got into, you've done some curated events and different things to like showcase companies, and let's be clear. Yeah, it showcased companies, but it also did a good job of bringing people together and building almost a sense of community or within the like marketing space and multifamily in different ways, bringing people together, having conversations, having fun, but also networking and all that at the same time. And I know that AIM has been one that you've done a lot of things at. Yeah. I was the only time I went to AIM. You had a penthouse, I'm pretty sure, and I was able to go to that. But you
also had one of the cooler activations I think I've seen at AIM, and it was the custom T-shirts that you guys did.
We did do that.
You did direct print, like at the booth, which I think is probably one of the cooler things, because you could do so many different customations there, and it was a great conversation point while the T-shirts are printing. So I think you guys did it there.
And thankfully, we had that, because otherwise we were literally in the back corner, farthest from everyone.
Yeah,
it was not an ideal location. I'll say that much.
That was before the lounges, and they had other things going back there. You guys were like the first time in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah, they put baby in the corner for sure. And I was like, all right, well, I mean, this was fun, but maybe we should go back and give it another shot. I don't know. I know AIM is a big deal for a lot of people. For us, I just don't know. I know there's a lot of parking companies that go now. So now we need to go just to compete, I guess. I don't know. Like, maybe not.
Yeah, I see the value in having everybody there, right? Because I think it's an incredible venue. I think what Dennis and Steve have built is definitely hands down one of those longest lasting conferences, especially where it's niched in marketing. That price point though is rough. And I think that's where it's like, when I think about smaller companies, to send one person a ticket is what, $7,500. And I know Dennis is definitely willing to work on that a little bit. But yeah, $7,500 is an entry for a vendor ticket, and the rooms start at what, like $300 a night, and you're there for 4 nights, 3 nights, and then you got flights, you got all the wining and dining that you have to do. Like, you're not getting out of there for less than 10. So it's an expensive conference, but I would say the same for pretty much any of them. Like MME, I think originally was like 14, 15K. And then they developed some tiers and stuff after that as well, which was great. And Social Media Summit also is kind of getting up there. They're around 7 or 8K for a booth, like an actual booth, not just a ticket. So like that kind of stuff, like there's definitely some price ranges, but it's getting expensive, especially for smaller shops.
Yeah, for sure. And we're out of order, but I want to dive into the experience stuff a little bit more. You know, yeah, like you said, crafting experiences, not just campaigns. And then I have some back end questions too. But what is your, I mean, I guess your way of approaching marketing and really getting people to come around a brand?
Well, so I think this is where I struggle a little bit. I think there's like, if it's tied to a conference, obviously you want to try and get the biggest attendance possible to get your brand out there. And when I think about like Lobster Boil, when Lobster Boil first started, that was exactly how I wanted to design an experience where it started with like 10 people, 10 people. And we were all cracking lobster in a really kind of crummy warehouse. But like that was the space that we were in, and we made it really personal because they said they wanted to have something a little bit more unique and surprise them. So we did. And then it just kind of grew from there to now 120-ish people every year. That piece is now like, I would consider that more of like a brand play than an actual like revenue driver. And so it really depends on like what's the purpose of what the event is. Are you just trying to get your name out there? Then great. Those like bigger partnership ones, like Podcast Palooza is a great example of like a great brand play, because the content that they're going to build at that can resonate for months afterwards. And I think that's going to be really cool. But then like taking someone to the Sphere to go see, I don't know if Grateful Dead's still playing there, but like if you were to take somebody to go see the Grateful Dead concert and it's just you and them, like that to me is money well spent. And it's a really cool experience that even though you might not be talking shop at that point, they're going to remember that they went to that concert with you. And that kind of stuff, I think, plays really well where you're building personal experiences on like a smaller playing field. So I would say that my style of event is more personalized, but being able to like recognize when you want to do the big brand plays, I think that's also really important. And I think those have a lot of resonance, especially when you tie it into other campaigns.
Yeah. And you mentioned obviously getting a brand awareness out there versus driving business. Is that tied into the crafting experiences, not just campaigns? Like, when it comes to making these experiences, do you see them driving business as well?
I see it being something that you can mark on their prospect journey, but I don't see it being the thing that's going to shift from being nurturing to contract signing.
Right.
And I think that's where having those touch points is really important. So if they're seeing your brand continuously throughout that journey, that is what's going to drive the contract faster, and it's going to help solidify a stronger relationship. But I also don't know, like, it's very hard to prove that, like, hey, they came to Podcast Palooza, and that's the thing that they signed the contract that day. That's going to be a hard thing to sell if it's a first touch, first interaction, contract signing the next day, versus like, yeah, I've been talking with so-and-so for the last 5 conferences, and then we met up again at Podcast Palooza, and it reminded them that they had a contract in their inbox.
So what, getting beyond these experiential things, what's your advice on driving revenue and driving business?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of a multi-touch piece where you have like your outbound going on. Like, I see a lot of complaints happening about emails happening, especially at conferences. And I agree. I think the noise is insane. Like, my inbox is blowing up with the number of people requesting demos and meetings to go to their booths. And those are the ones that are frustrating because they didn't segment their list. They didn't put together crafted messaging that's specific to that person's role. But like some of my clients that we worked on some sequences for like multiple weeks to make sure that the messaging we sent out to the larger masses beyond their circle was still tailored to that role, tailored to the things that we know they might be interested in, that like from their company's perspective. And so you want to have that approach so that there's that broad reach. But then you also want to make sure that like if there's engagement that happens with that broad reach, you take them off of the automation and you go personal. And like you get in there and be like, oh, I see that Sally leasing agent clicked on my email twice and then they were looking at my website. Awesome. Let me dive in. Let me see what Sally's doing. Oh, I see Sally's attending these sessions and she posted about it on LinkedIn. Let me reach out and comment on there and engage with her and build some rapport, and then reach out to her again to see if we want to schedule a demo. Like that kind of stuff is what's going to be the driver.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And hopefully you have a system in place where you don't have to manually
turn it
off.
Yeah. So having like a HubSpot, Salesforce kind of does it with their Pardot. You can do stuff with MailChimp in there. That's pretty easy to track that stuff nicely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. I know you've had some success doing those things. So that's also what you're doing with your company.
Yeah. So just to kind of like overview what Ooni does. We do everything that you would see from a marketing growth team, but we do it as a team of one with a bunch of contractors that support these efforts. So we have copywriters, we have designers, we have digital marketing specialists, all that kind of have worked with us for the last few months now. And I've worked with in the past at other companies. And so we've brought all the ones that I've enjoyed working with into one spot. And goal is to build out sequences for teams that are smaller sales teams. Like maybe you have one sales rep or maybe you have one BDR, helping support that and build that stuff out. But then also like managing your booth experience and like getting that stuff set up. So when I go to NAA on Monday, I'm setting up 4 booths and we're getting that situated. And some of them are big build outs where we're working with contractors to actually install. And then there's some where I'm going to be throwing up a backdrop with some electrical cord and some duct tape. So there's a lot of variations of the type of support that you can get. And then there's brand stuff. And so working on sales decks, working on product vision, product roadmap, helping them understand like who are the best people in this industry to talk with about AI and how they can develop their own systems and what they're doing from a CRM standpoint. And so really figuring out where these products can fit and who they need to talk with or how I can help direct that piece. And so end-to-end marketing, growth, revenue support.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And you also don't have to pay me benefits, which is a nice piece. So
you just have to pay him. Just kidding.
Yeah.
He's not free, people. I don't think anything's free in this world, actually. People have to eat. You have children or a child? I forget.
I have a child. Yeah. My little kid is 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah. Put food on their table, everyone. Just kidding.
Yeah. I tell people that like I was giving some enriched data lists and they were like, hey, can I pay you for this? I'm like, yeah, you can just add it to Ella's college fund and I'll send them the Venmo for it.
What you should do is on your invoice, have your child's face. Just really like
that's like the starving kids that you support. Like I'm not there yet. I'm not,
no, but it'd be equally funny and adorable, probably.
Yeah, if you donate $5 a day to Ella, she'll have a full flat of berries at her disposal.
Yeah, it's good. Cool. Support Trevor.
Yeah, support Trevor
for a low $5 a month. I'm just kidding. He'll send you a picture for your refrigerator.
Yeah. Like, this is the kid that you virtually adopted.
No, I don't think we're doing that. Okay. Now, when it comes to the brands that you support, one thing that you like to identify and support is underdog brands, or ones that maybe deserve and don't have budget, whatever it is. How do you identify those? And do you seek these out? Or is this something you actually like to pursue? Or
Yeah, I think it's a combination of like, I love talking with people, and I think that's one of the reasons why the company's done so well so quickly is in these conversations that I've had, a lot of people are complaining of like, hey, I just am not getting in here, or it's just like, I don't understand this space very well, or we have this incredible product, will you test it, like check it out for us? And if it's just trying to find market fit and where it goes, like that's an easy, like I'll raise my hand and be like, hey, like I can help you figure out where's the space that you guys need to kind of hover within. Cause I think going after the top 50 NMHC, that's a long, long, tiresome road. But then doing something where you were working on uh like more brand activation in specific niches that work for you, that's also a great area to kind of like uncover. And I don't think a lot of people have the time or ability to kind of jump into that without pulling away from what they're doing on the product side. So
Mhm.
definitely recognizing that in those conversations, but then also playing around with the idea of like, hey, this is a new company that I just heard about. I want to reach out to them and say like, hey, you don't have a marketing team. Like, what are you guys doing to get out there? How can I help? Has been kind of a helpful piece. And so I have a couple clients that like I did the direct outreach, and then I have other clients that like have reached out to me through third parties and been like, hey, this is the guy that needs to support your marketing. And so it's been a nice combo.
Nice. Are there any companies you want to mention that you're proud of what's going on?
Yeah, like I'll start with one of the first ones, Union. I think they like what Ethan Lacey's building is just really incredible. It's I would say it's probably changing how CRMs on a centralized standpoint are kind of operating. They've built a whole AI that pulls from their marketing suite of services, so all of their paid media, all of their Google ads, social media advertising, websites, all of that stuff is tracked through the full funnel, which is unique because a lot of companies that do CRMs don't necessarily do the ad piece, and there's a handoff that's expected to happen cleanly, and that's not typical. So unions kind of fix that handoff, and they're really promoting ILS independence because you can see where your spend is happening, and it's spend that you are focused on just with your products. So I think that's really cool.
Can you
Their
explain
AI is also top tier.
what is it that they're doing that independent makes them independent of an ILS?
Yeah. So one of the big things is they have both the corporate sites that they build out as well as the property sites, and having
Uh-huh.
those two connected basically means that you can like turn a great example was one of their clients is Mark Taylor. Mark Taylor's built out this beautiful website that operates as its own independent ILS for all of the Mark Taylor portfolio. And they've
Mm.
actually pulled out a lot of their ILS spend and have been seeing really solid results in doing so. Um, they do work with like apartment lists. I think is a great example of like not the standard ILS. Like you're paying apartment lists for performance, and so it's similar
Mm.
to kind of what you see with Google Ads, where you're not paying just a blanket rate and then helping promote other brands at the same time. I think this is a great way to
Right.
see that. And then it flows all the way through. And then they also are developing some products like Credit Builder and security deposits and kind of managing that side as well. So they're doing some really cool things there. One Day has been in the space for a long time. They are really killing it on the senior living side, and Clint has been working with his team to build out some really cool stuff, with kind of like almost like these style like microsites, almost landing pages that you can build that are video centric
Mm.
and allow you to automate a lot of the leasing prospecting, where you can send messages at key stages within the CRM cycle and send them personalized messages. And it's a great way to see an increase in conversion there. So I'm loving what they're doing there. Work a lot with the Revise team. Ben and Bobby are
Mhm.
two of the smartest people that I've had the luxury of working with, and they're doing some really cool stuff on vendor management, contract management, and their community space is also really solid. Um, who else? Grid is some great people. Love working with them out of Toronto. Flair Eden is just one of my favorite people in the space, and he's doing some really cool stuff. The list goes on. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of big players that I'm working with right now and helping their brands grow. But being my
Nice.
teams.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool. And it's all been in the last few months. I know you were doing some stuff on the side while you were still working elsewhere,
Yeah.
but happy to hear that business is good for you, and I hope it continues in that way. And definitely looking forward to seeing some of the stuff you've been working on at NAA. That'll be fun to walk around.
Yeah, hopefully I don't crash and burn. This will be the big test, is being able to get all these booths set up and make sure that everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
I keep forget, one of my newest clients, Resi. I'm really excited to be working with them. Their websites are absolutely incredible. And they're doing some really cool stuff in that space. And their booth is one of my favorites in terms of how clean it is. So definitely worth checking out if you guys are going to NA.
Yeah, they had a fun booth. I think it was last year.
Yeah.
They had I think it was a neon sign and something else. And I don't remember exactly what it said and stuff, but it was fun. It was, it stood out. We're for our first time, we're doing a pretty big booth ourselves. We got a 20 by 30 booth right next to RealPage, and we're getting it built out, and it's gonna be pretty cool. We'll see what happens.
Love that.
So excited for next week to see how everything comes together, for sure. All right, and then something that you called out was human-centered technology, and maybe this goes to some of the companies that you are supporting in what you're doing, but maybe just generally speaking, what do you mean by that? And what are some good examples of technology that are achieving that?
Well, I think one of the big things too is that, like, with AI being such a hot topic, and it seems to be kind of polarizing a little bit, like people are really willing to adopt it or people aren't willing to adopt it. And Daniel had a really good post talking about it a couple of days ago, about the struggles that a lot of companies are experiencing with the willingness to adopt AI. And I think that's where that human element really needs to stay prevalent, is understanding where human touch sits within this space of automation and AI. And a lot of the tech that I'm working with recognizes that early, and they're not trying to like backpedal away from removing AI. They're trying to figure out what's the best way that we can continue to enhance different touch points with human versus AI, and where that balance plays. Like One Day, I think, is thinking about it perfectly, in the sense that they want to leverage AI to enhance the human connection piece by creating scripts. When they're recording their videos, AI can generate scripts of what you should say based off of your prompts, and it can help automate the workflow so that you're not having to think about when you are sending things or how things are getting sent out. One Day is really thinking about that so that you can still be human at scale. And I think that's where you're taking these people, like these leasing agents that have so many other responsibilities, and figuring out what are the things that we can take out their plate that won't lose that sense of empathy and understanding.
Right.
Same thing with Union. If you ever get a chance to go through their demo of how the interaction between their chat AI, their voice AI, and then their CRM AI all kind of play together, and then where it triggers human prompting and where humans can actually come in and interact. They've thought about that to a point where it creates actually a better workflow than the standard. And so that stuff's really cool to kind of see how that plays out. So really thinking about what are the ways that, like, it's expected to have a really quick response time when you have things that like Amazon are giving you next day delivery or same day delivery, and you can go to a chat feature and you get an immediate response about stuff about your travel. All of that stuff is just creating more of an expectation of quick response times, whereas our leasing teams are still like, it's not adding more people to your team to improve that response time. They're expecting to basically increase workload and production at the same time, and that's just not possible. And so having that connection piece balanced with AI, I think, is really important.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think to a degree, the people that figure that out the best and make sure the human element is activated still are the ones that are going to win, because it'll be differentiating, right?
Yeah. A great example, I would say, then. So Sydney Weber's over there with Andrew Halverson, and like love that team. And I think what they're building is there's very few actual human touch points, but the way that it moves a prospect into a resident stage does it so well that the lack of human touch isn't noticed, because they've thought about how a human would actually bring you through this process, and they bring a lot of low friction points through that. And I think that's a really great example of how like the human connection's not lost, even if there's not true humans behind it.
Yeah. Well, and I just think your opportunity, instead of thinking, oh, that's taking my job, think of it more from my standpoint. Okay, they moved in. Now make their lived experience better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about how can your staff just make living there more hospitable. So think more hospitality and almost like hotel once they're there, so they don't want to leave. And honestly, the more you see staff around, the more people will care for the community anyways. So I think, that's how you can get more human centered, right? Like,
Yeah.
the things that maybe people don't want to interact with humans on certain stuff anymore, but they appreciate being taken care of, and like maintenance taking care of you, and the staff otherwise just making sure that this space is really nice to live in, I think is a whole different thing.
True. So yeah, I think there's a good balance that can be struck, and I think it's just a matter of being willing to put the work in to adopt it properly, to make sure that it fits within your style, like your prospects, your residents, making sure that it's not creating friction points even during the onboarding process I think is super important.
Yeah. Friction definitely is frustrating. Like outside of real estate, whenever you do something with technology and you're buying something and there's all these extra steps or things aren't clear, I'm pretty savvy technologically, and even like buying something the other day on, I think it was Amazon, was frustrating. And I was like, shouldn't this be like the easiest purchase I've ever made, because it's the biggest friggin' company ever. You would think so. But friction's frustrating for sure. I have an example of like buying something or like scheduling a tour or something. I just went and scheduled my car to get worked on. Making sure everybody's on the same page along the journey, because the person that scheduled me missed some steps, which make me have to come back for another appointment. And I'm like, I didn't come here just for you to look at my car. I wanted you to fix my car.
Yeah.
So if you would have asked me 2 questions at scheduling, that would have been fixed. And it seems like those types of things, when you're leasing and things like that, asking the right questions is a really big deal.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. So, well, we're headed into Apartmentalize next week. Is there anything fun you have planned? Do you have any events going on?
Not any bigger ones, but I'm participating in some really cool ones. So like Podcast Palooza from the Multifamily Media Network. We'll have some teams there. Ethan will be speaking at one of the AI panels, which is really exciting because he's super knowledgeable on that topic. And I think it's going to be really exciting with Daniel Polino as one of the other moderators there. What else do we got? There's a cool event that's happening with Ludacris. I don't know if everybody knows, but Mike Tiano is DJ Ice Mike, and he's pretty legit. And so he will actually be the DJ for the Ludacris concert. So if you get a chance to go check that out, I think it's Phoenix Staffing and a few others, Snapped, and
Genesis, maybe.
Yeah, Genesis. Thank you. And that'll be a really great concert. Who else? Kenny Chesney is going to be there as well, and that's apartments.com. So there's a lot of good stuff happening. I personally, when it comes to Vegas, I prefer less is more, and like really cool dinners, going out for drinks, super easy, super clutch in Vegas. Mainly because it's just so expensive. It's difficult to get around. It's not worth a lot of bigger stuff. But the fact that like Podcast Palooza is on Tuesday, that's an easy yes, because that's when a lot of people are getting in, and not a lot of stuff's on the books there. So check that one out.
Yep. And I'll be there too. And I'm doing a
You're
boss talk from it. Yes. And then the next morning we have a brunch, and I'm hoping, Trevor, I think you're on the list.
I'll be there. Yes. Oh, Katie Mancuso is also doing her wellness walk as well with a lot of other people. Like I know Ben's going to be sponsoring there. That's a great one to participate in too. And so that'll be, I think, right before your brunch, if I remember right. It's another one.
Yeah, I don't even know about it, but where are they walking?
I have no idea. We'll make sure
outside. I mean, early means not too hot.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll make sure that they post the details in the comments.
Yeah. Let's list all of them in the comments so that everybody knows what's going on. I'm going to like 3 things on Tuesday night.
Amazing.
I'm going to go to the meetup for a minute, then to the Podcast Palooza, and then Melanin Multifamily. They're doing their mixer off the strip from 8 to 11.
Fun.
Yeah. And I went last year, and it was a party. I will say they did it right. If you want a party, they got a party for you. Okay. I'm not necessarily the one to dance, but there was a lot of dancing to be had. So
is Bad Residents doing a concert in Vegas?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
That's one. Yeah. If you get a chance, they're great. That team is awesome.
Yeah. But there's always a lot going on. And you're right. Vegas is hard. Like we had a hard time picking where we were going to do our brunch. But we landed right next to the conference center, which I hope ends up being great. I mean, I would think so.
Easy walk.
Yeah. And, they get their breakfast and coffee. That's kind of what they're expecting. So slam dunk.
Exactly.
But no, Trevor, I really appreciate you jumping on with me today, and look forward to seeing you next week. And those that watch this later, I really do look forward to seeing you too. Hopefully, if you're going to Apartmentalize, check us out at our various booths. We're at 1201. Where are you at, Trevor?
Oh,
top of your head?
I don't know off the top of my head everybody's booth numbers.
But you got Union. Are they going to be there?
Yep. Check out Union. Check out Tenant Source. Check out Resi. I think those are the 3 main ones that are going to be there. Off the top of my head, those are 3 great ones to check out.
Nice.
Tell them Trevor sent you, and I will enter anybody that brings my name to the booth. I'll enter you guys into a prize for something fun.
Yeah, piece of art off his wall. Just kidding.
This is my nephew's. My nephew did that one. I love this one.
That's great.
My mom did that one.
Which I want to point out to you, I thought an adult made that. So that's art for you.
Yeah, that is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie poster.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's so good. My kids is off camera, so don't judge. But Ella's is right down there.
Yeah, I need to have my kids make me some art. They love doing art and put it on the walls. All right. Well, just like Trevor jumped on to Boss Talks and was Boss 134, you too can be a guest. Just reach out to me and we can make it happen. I love elevating all the bosses of the multifamily industry. And so whether you are on site at a community or high up in a company, it's free game for everybody. Supplier, property management, everybody. I love you all. Want to elevate everybody, give everybody a platform. So bring it to the show. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, Evan.
All right.